Hello, everybody, and welcome yet again to another wonderful Sunday. That's right, the day that is the weekend, which is actually just another day to work. That's how you get ahead of everybody else, anyway. So, thank you for anyone joining me live here today. Shout out to you guys. Looks like we got on the YouTube side, we got Mr. Will Stevenson in the chat. That's right, folks. Like that smash button. It's good to see you on here. And we also have out of the gate Mr. Wyatt MG. Good to see you, sir. And that's what we got here over on the YouTube side. If you're on the Instagram side, feel free to pop on over to the YouTube stream if you want to catch it in a better format and chat with the other wonderful gentlemen here in the chat. Without further ado, folks, my name is Sam Stevenson. If you don't know who I am building a design firm. I'm a guy that puts lines on paper and I get money for it. So if you're somebody who likes to build houses and you want lines on paper, that's a thing that I do. And I could probably do it faster than everybody else. In fact, definitively, I do it faster than everybody else. So there's that. I am here to discuss what I'm doing to build this company. And hopefully, if you guys are business people or you are building or whatever, or you want to figure out like, hey, what's this guy Sam doing with this business? Can I trust him? Whatever. I'm here to just talk about all the strategies that I'm doing to build this company as I go. And so far, we're going up and to the right. So let's just keep doing more of that. But some lessons I got over this past week. We had a little bit of an exciting week. We did some new things this week. And I'll just kind of get right into it here. So the 3D printer I've got behind the camera over there just got an upgraded nozzle. I did not have a hardened steel nozzle. I had a stainless steel nozzle. And for those of you that don't know what that means, basically I can only print certain kinds of plastics. I cannot print plastics that have hard additives in them. For example, carbon fiber improved plastic, whatever you want to call it, right? It's a composite material. So for a personal family project, somebody needed something printed out of this carbon fiber plastic because of the color it had. And so the nozzle was upgraded. I took care of that. And now here we are. And I had the plastic left over after the project. So I was like, well, let's just print a house out, see what it looks like. That's what this greenhouse is behind me. And the way the carbon fiber plastic printed out was super clean. There was no fuzziness left. So as the printer's running around doing all of its stuff, whenever it's like going through a wall and it like stops printing where the window is and then it like starts again, sometimes, there's a little fuzzy thing left over. And it's just like, it's a little hair that crosses over the window. And it's not really that big of a deal, but when you're done printing, the print has like fuzz in the window. And so I have to pull it out with my fingers and just kind of clean it up a little bit. It just looks a little bit messier than it would be otherwise. So switching to the carbon fiber plastic solved that problem. And there was no fuzziness. It just clean stops. So it's about twice as expensive to buy the carbon fiber material. But for what I'm doing and like the inexpense that this really is in the price of a set of plans, like it's not a big deal. So I'm thinking we're going to stay upgraded to that carbon fiber plastic. And, if somebody wants other colors and they don't want the carbon fiber, then, we'll do whatever. Like I can print whatever now. And I've got the hardened steel nozzle in there. So it would last longer anyway using a regular plastic. So that's pretty cool. I like that. I like things. It also it also makes it stronger. Like I'm not kidding. The model, when I pulled it up off the plate, it felt a little stiffer than all the other ones. So could have been a function of the house design, but whatever. All right, so we got a little bit of tea to talk about, sort of. There's a lesson in here somewhere. I was having a phone call with a particular builder this last week. And actually, no, I wasn't talking to the builder. I was talking to the customer. In this particular case, the builder sends me the customers, like the leads they have that are trying to start a house building, but they don't have a design. He sends them to me. And then I take them through the design process, get them their plans, and then that goes back to the builder. Now I have constraints from the builder that he's expecting that are like normal parts of the plans. Like, hey, second floor doors, make them this height. Or, hey, roof pitches don't go over this. Or roof material is going to be this. Keep it within this square footage. Here's some things to work within, yada, 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 ready, set, go. That's one way I do my work. And it is just a different kind of process. But I was going through this process. This particular customer's plans were done, and it came up that it was requested to have the one of the things that I do for marketing purposes for the builder as a favor is they send me their logo and I can put their logo on the plans. And it sort of makes sense like, oh yeah, okay, they're going to build this house. Like all the people that are going to see the plans are going to see the logo. So like I think that matters and it doesn't matter. So it matters because you've just got more like brand recognition, more brand exposure, but it also doesn't matter because sort of by definition, if the contractor is already working with the builder, it means they already know the builder exists. So you should only market yourself and your brand to people that one can pay you, two that don't already know you, and three that well actually you can market to people that already know you. It just makes them warmer. But like and three that like they're qualified and you want them to be your type of, they're your type of customer kind of thing. So, it's kind of valuable, kind of not valuable, not a big deal either way. But the customer in this case, who is the one directly paying for the plans, in all my other cases, all the other builders buy the plans from me. And I'm going to get to that. But in this case, the customer asked me to remove the logo of the builder, which I was happy to do because they're the ones who paid me to do the work. I'm going to do what the person who pays me does. Like I'm going to do what they say to do because they're the ones who gave me the money. So I removed the logo. It has not been a big deal since then, but like, it's just the thought that it was an interesting request from my perspective because I'm so used to not caring about insignificant things that don't matter. And so it was odd to me that this thing was important to this particular person. And it made me wonder about like brand questions, right? So what, first of all, okay, if the plans, like I released both sets, one's got a logo, one doesn't. Like he asked me to remove it. Like, okay, now they're just like floating out there. So who knows who's going to see what set. But also like if he runs across the set where I pulled the logo off and then he asks me to put it back on, and now he's like, now the guy who's giving me most of the work asks me for a favor, but like the guy who paid for it didn't want it. Now it's like I'm in the middle of this thing, and it's like, well, it's just weird, right? It's unnecessarily weird. And so that's another reason why I am inclined to generate enough other options that I can choose to not work with this particular builder. And there are multiple reasons for that. I will get into the next one here. So, client aside, I was on the phone with a builder, and the builder said, here's what came up. Okay, so same customer, the plans are done. And to be clear, I generally don't put cabinet elevations in my drawings. And the reason for that is because I specifically look for builders that don't want cabinet elevations in their drawings. Because, knock my mouse over, because when they get the architectural plans, they send all that off to the cabinet designer who's going to sit down with the customer. And the customer is going to get the cabinet design done with that designer because they're the ones making the cabinets. I'll be totally honest. I did mostly framing and siding as trades, and that's where I'm studied. I did engineering, like I'm a structural guy. I am not an artist. I am not a woodworker. I am not a like craftsman in the sense of like fine woodworking. I don't know how to make cabinets. I don't know how to design cabinets. I know how they work. I know how they're made. I understand their role and how they fit into the house. But I like, you're asking me to come up with a cool cabinetry design. Like I'm not your guy. And so I specifically avoid that because I would rather just do more of the thing I'm already good at and not try to be good at this one thing that's like already going to get redesigned anyway, 9 times out of 10, simply because I'm not making their cabinets. The guy making the cabinets needs to know. So he's going to draw them up anyway. So once I figured that out, by the way, in the industry, I figured that out pretty early on. And I was like, oh, wait, somebody's already redrawing the cabinet design. Therefore, if I spend my time doing it, it devalues my time because literally you're getting a thing that you're like, that has no value because it's going to be redone. And I hate rework. That's one of the things that's the common theme. I don't like reworking anything ever because it's literally zero value added. Like it gets you closer to a correct solution, but like it means like something went wrong if you have to redo something. At some point, the process was not correct to get the correct like direction established in the first place. So that's my take on cabinets. My plans do not have cabinet elevations on them unless I am specifically working with a builder that has them for a specific reason, and he will pay a price to get those things on there. Now, is it a ton of work for me to throw on a simple cabinetry elevation? No, it's not a ton of work. So the price doesn't change that much. However, like there's a difference between me saying, yeah, okay, these are about like where the cabinets go. They're probably approximately this size, and we're just going to assume these are drawers and these are doors or whatever. And I just like spit that out on the plan. That's one quantity of time. The other quantity of time would be I send that off and then they send it back with a bunch of red lines all over cabinets and like, no, I want these to be drawers and I want these to be doors and I want this to be here and I want this to be this wide. And like they send me that back and it's like, oh, so you didn't want to just like, you didn't want a conceptualization of your cabinets. You wanted an actual cabinet design. So like, okay, well, fine. If I fix that all, it might take me 30 minutes to an hour, depending on how complex and how big the house is. I send it back. And then they send it back again. And like you just enter into this like whole loop of like unnecessary stuff because I'm not making the damn cabinets. So that's my take on that. But that's all context for what is going to happen here. I was on the phone with the customer and I had already arranged with the builder, like, oh, okay, I'm not putting cabinet elevations on my drawings. And he says, hey, please don't put cabinet elevations on your drawings because when I build houses, I'm tired of my customers seeing 2 sets of cabinet drawings because then things get built and they're like, oh my God, my cabinets don't match what I was expecting because what about this drawing? And then God forbid, they're like, they have a contract that's tied to the set of plans. That's my plans. And then everyone's confused and people are just like, what's going on? And by the time the cabinets are built and installed, like somebody is spending money if they want the cabinets that they like, whatever. Yeah. So it's pain. So we avoid that. We tried to. So builder and I agreed, this is not a thing that I do. So I like keep that in mind with my price. Got the customer, they paid the price. I gave them the plans. Everything's done. Like they have the final set. I'm like out. Like I've printed their model. It's currently waiting for them to pick it up, but like they've got the model effectively. I'm done. This plan is finished. And then I get a phone call basically asking to go through the cabinet design. Now, here's one of the reasons why like that's not a big deal, but it is a big deal. Like it's both. So for this particular customer, I spent a lot of time on screen share calls, showing them the software, showing them the 3D modeling, walking them through the house, walking them through the house again, and then walking them through the house again, and then walking them through the house again. And you understand like how that normally goes. And so I was very patient and like I did this thing because I'm trying to provide a high level of service for the money that is like being paid, like high value, right? All that stuff. And long story short, I should have charged twice as much money as I did because I did not anticipate them wanting to walk through the house again and then walk through the house again and that process. So that was my fault, but I tried to still provide the highest level of value that I could. And knowing that I'm already that far into the project and they want to basically like look at potential cabinet designs in 3D again, it's like, okay, I'm trying to provide the highest value, like highest level of service. I could like have more meetings with you and help you. And like on the phone, I decided like, yeah, okay, I'll help you. Yeah, let's solve this problem. Like you need to understand that you're wasting your time by doing this because I'm not your cabinet guy. And he's going to ask you the same thing. So you're wasting your time and kind of wasting my time because I'm not adding value here, except for that, like you can see you're going to get to see in 3D some cabinets that you're not going to get. That's the value that I'm adding. So that is my take on that. So he called, I said, yeah, let's do this thing. Here you go, man. And I like got off the phone and I was like, man, I'm about to waste more time. And so I called up the builder and I said, just so we're clear, like I didn't misunderstand what's going on here. You don't want cabinet elevations. Like you don't want cabinet design coming from me, right? And he was like, yes, correct. And here's where the like a little bit of like needle prodding comes in. On the phone with this builder, I was basically describing the same situation that I just described to you, which is that like I'm twice as far into this project as I thought I was going to be. So that means I'm making half as much money as I thought I'm going to be. So like I'd like all of you running a business out there in the world who are watching this to think, if you make half as much money as you intended to, how do your numbers look? They probably don't look good. So yeah. So that's where we were at. And he the builder came to me and basically said, what does it cost? Like, what's it to you to just not solve his problem for him? Like the whole cabinet thing aside, like, why not just help him out? And there's two things going on here. One, that I don't really want to waste my time. And two, that the builder comes in and then like presupposes that my time is only valuable in the sense that like I should just like, what does it cost you? You just got to sit at a computer and do it. And it's like, yes, my time is the only thing that it costs to make the plans a reality, but it's my time. And so therefore, by him asking that question, the implication is that, oh, your time is not that valuable. Your time is only as valuable as like, bro, just like sit at the computer and like help him out some more. Like, what do you got better to do, man? You're just a draftsman. Like I'm when I'm saying this, I'm implying tone and I'm implying a message that was not said. Therefore, it's an overreaction or it's a speculative thing, right? I'm speculating that that's like a subconscious thing in his head when he said that. It's like, oh, well, this guy, you're just like new to this, bro. Like your time's not valuable. And like, yeah, honestly, on some level, he's not wrong, right? And so the lesson in there for me, and hopefully for you guys, is that one, always spend time selling and generating yourself more options. Because if you stop generating yourself more options, you will not have other options to choose when you want to say no to somebody that does not value your time. So in the new phase, like where I'm at now, I might still like accept some new projects from this guy and bump my price up, depending on how I interpret things going, to make up for the extra time and all this stuff. Or I will just like chase more and like have other opportunities and just be like, you know what? Nope. There have been multiple cases. Like this is the second or third time I've told a story like this from a builder, and it's the same builder that makes the same assumptions about me and my time. And like, yeah, technically, if you took all the money I made over the month and then you divided it by all the hours that I could have worked over the month, you get some like relatively low effective hourly rate. However, I was just having a conversation with my brother who's in the chat right now, Mr. Will Stevenson. He has wise things to say often, almost all the time. And we were talking about like time and value of time. And one of the things that came up was that like people value things differently. And if I value my time, the thought that I had was that if I value my time, let's say, like, I'm not going to put a dollar number on it. Well, let's just use an example. Let me put a dollar on it. Let's say I value my time at $1,000 an hour. Let's just pick a number and say like, hey, this is to me, this is what it's worth. Now, if I'm able to go into the economy and extract $5,000 and only spend 5 hours of my time doing it, then my mental image of like my time value, it matches what the economy says. Therefore, the market confirms that my time is actually worth that number. Now, if I would like to work no other hours that whole like month because I made $5,000, let's say, I can do other stuff with my time because I value my time. That does not mean my time that doesn't mean it drops, right? So somebody could say, if I wanted to sit on the couch for the rest of the month and not do anything, because that's how I wanted to consume my time and I wanted to protect my time, then that's what I'm going to do. And other people they don't get to come in and say like, oh, well, like your time isn't that valuable. You're just sitting on a couch. It's like, oh, no, I mean, I went and did a thing. It got me a money per time. And now I want to go do other stuff with my time. So that said, I made a few tweets about this week, but like if anybody wants to consume your time, there's a transaction there and it needs to be worth it. So that is pretty much the summary there. Hopefully I connected all, it went full circle here. So yeah, so I would like to generate more options, make things happen, open the doors, positivity, growth for everybody. And then, well, no growth for the people that like I choose to not want to work with because like, well, they can grow on their own, but they don't need me. So that's where I'm at. That's where I'm thinking. And so that whole thing basically like just kind of disappeared. I basically sent a message and I was like, hey, you're not getting any value really from me doing this for you. I'm happy to do it for you, but you're going to be wasting your time. I'm summarizing. And the builder probably said the same thing to the guy and it like has not come back. So we'll see what happens. We all out here just trying to make things happen. What do we got here? Let me read some of these comments. Mr. Wyatt MG, yes, he can and does. Yes, I can. And I do. I don't remember what this is about. Oh, maybe in the intro, in the beginning, I draw things fast. Thank you, Mr. Wyatt, if that's what you were referring to. I do my very best. Okay. From Mr. Will Stevenson, tell him that your time is the most valuable because you're dying. That is a fair thing to say. I am slowly dying, sir. So actually, my time is the most valuable thing to me. Therefore, get off my ass. Okay. Next. All right. Let's go back to some positivity and some learning and some growth. This is a good piece for anyone out here watching this who's in the design industry who wants to know how to draw a more valuable plan for somebody. Or if you're in the construction building industry, like Mr. Wyatt MG, I believe, and you're looking at finding draftsmen to draw plans and you want to know, well, what does make a good draftsman? Because lots of people can put lines on paper, but what lines are good lines? What lines are valuable lines, objectively valuable? Okay. Well, I found some objectively valuable information this last week that I'm going to improve my plans with. And it has to do with the slab plan and plumbing measurements. So I used to like just generally when I drew a slab plan, it was like the add-on on the end. And it was basically like, hey, you could like, you already know how to build the foundation if you got the floor plan drawing, because like, you just know that like there's a brick lug and there's dimensions everywhere. Do the math. However, in order to expedite the process and increase the likelihood of getting a good result for the foundation guy, we make the slab plan, which says, hey, here's what the slab looks like. Here's how big the slab is. Here's the curbs. Here's the drops. Here's the steps. You're going to drop the shower pan. Like, you're notating all these things. And that's valuable for the slab guy. I have also learned to start adding on, and I was sort of already dabbling with this, but now I really know how to do it. The plumbing penetration numbers. And this is valuable information for the builder or contractor to have, because if you are going to penetrate a slab, for those that don't know, when you pour a concrete slab, you got to run plumbing underneath it and pipes are going to stick up where the plumbing drains and walls and stuff need to go. Now, if you put those pipes in the wrong spot and you pour a bunch of concrete, guess what you're doing? You're either moving a wall where you didn't want to, or you're going to bust up your slab, move the pipe, and then reform your concrete. And it's never going to be the same. And it's just like, it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare either way. So you don't want to miss when you're doing that. The two houses that I am building up in Bryan their plumbing is roughed in under the slab. They've been passed, they've been inspected, but I went out and checked them. And there were like, I did not on my slab plan at the time I drew this house, I did not put any measurements showing like where these pipes landed. And so I had to go to the floor plan and like do some mental math, like, okay, this wall to here, and then this wall to here, add the wall thickness. Like, I had to do some math to figure out where these walls were. And the plumbers probably did too, because I didn't give them the measurements, unless they like took the slab plan and like used a scale or something, which is way less accurate, but whatever. So that's an option. But that's what I had to do. And I realized once I was out there and I had to measure, I was like, man, it would sure be nice and it'd be super easy for me to add to the slab plan like a little circle, like, hey, here's the drain, here's the center. Pull from the slab edge with a tape into here. Cool, you know you're in the wall. Pull from the slab tape to here. Cool, you know you're in the wall. Or like for the toilet drain's got to be 12 inches away from the framing of the wall, depending on like what standard you're using. But like in most cases, I think it's 12. So I was doing that. But like it would be super easy for me to add that information. Like it would take 5 to 10 minutes of my time drawing it, and it would save somebody a lot of headache. It would improve a lot of accuracy, both for the plumber who needs to place the pipes and the builder who's going to check the pipes. So that improvement is in the works. And now I have a context for doing it because I had to go do it myself. And I was like, man, who drew this damn plan? Okay. Oh, I didn't grab it, but over on my desk is this cool little timer. My brother just got one recently, and that and spurred me to get one myself. But it's this little kitchen timer. It's very simple. It's just a dial, start, stop. It goes up to I think 199 minutes. And the idea is, if you're working, this idea came from Alex Hormozy. If you're working on something and you want to know how productive you are, or you want to know how much like true time it takes for a task to happen, then you only measure on task time. And you know that by using the timer. So let's say I'm going to look at a task and I'm like, okay, I'm going to call 5 people. I'm going to go through my cold call process with my text, my email, all this stuff. I think that's going to take me 45 minutes. Who knows? And so I'll set the timer for 45 minutes and I'll start it. And I will stop the timer as the second I get distracted by anything else, or I catch myself daydreaming or whatever. As soon as I'm off task, I stop the time. If I get texted on the phone, if I get called, whatever, anything. Like if Mr. Pumpkin's being cute on the couch and just like, I just want to go pet him and he's cute. Like, okay, I'm gonna stop the timer and go pet him. And this is not to say that the most productive you can be is if you are working straight productively with 0 distractions. Technically, that makes sense to be the most like effective way of working. However, there is room for breaks. Get your mind off of it onto something else. Go outside and bounce a basketball. Go like, juggle some tennis balls or something. I don't know. Like get your mind off of it for a second. Take a break and then get back into it. You'll be fresh and whatever. So there's value in that. But I got this cool timer. I recommend you guys, if you have the opportunity to have some kind of timing system to check your productivity and see if you're like, oh, it took me 4 hours to do 3 hours of work. Then it helps you gauge your own productivity level. And it's like, oh, well, hold on. I could work an 8-hour day and do 4 hours of work in an 8-hour day, or I could just work 4 hours on task and then buy back 4 hours of my day. And like, I've accomplished the same amount of work. Now I can go do 4 hours of something else, or shit, maybe I'll do another 4 hours of work. And then it's like, I just did 2 days of work in one day. Like that's how you move faster than everybody else and solve more problems. So I got that. I also got this little, I basically 3D printed a little container for my phone. And when I am working, and I don't need to be calling because I use my phone to call, obviously. When I am doing anything else during the day, the phone goes in the container. And on the top of the container is the words focus printed onto the container. And the idea is I want to be more focused on my life, my real life, which happens to be here where I live, in the like environment that I have with the toys and the spaces I could go, the people I could meet, like all the stuff. Most of my real life is here. And that's where I want my attention to be. So my phone goes in the box because the phone is like, it's just a screen. Like I don't want to live in the screen. I want to live here in my real life and do real things. And I found that to be better for my mental health, sleep, like everything's just less dopamine from the phone. Like all of that's just more balanced. So my life is much better doing that. So I got the focus box. And also if I'm working and I don't want the phone distracting me, like it's very different to just like, instead of having the phone on the desk or put the phone in another room, the phone goes in the box. And it's like, I'm putting the lid on the box. It's like, I'm intentionally like removing this thing from my consciousness. If I walk around the house or whatever, I'm not going to accidentally see my phone, pick it up and start like scrolling Instagram or whatever. It's in a box, very intentionally placed there. And I will leave it there until I need to take it out for some reason to do something else. But I want the parts of my life, the doing, all that stuff, I want it to be like mostly in person. So that's something that's important to me that I'm working on. Yeah. So along with that is that I did some little brief research on the do not disturb focus modes on iPhones, and they are very good, very customizable. You can schedule them in. It's like super important for helping like like pre-establishing focus basically, right? So part of learning habits and encouraging yourself to be productive at certain times is like learning easy ways to do it. So my phone will automatically go on to a work mode from 8 to noon, where I think there's only 2 people that can call my phone and it will go off. Everything else, nothing comes out of that phone. Nothing distracts on the phone. And I had to do that partially because I need the phone to call. And 8 to noon every day is I am going to grow this business time. I don't care if somebody's waiting for something. I am going to grow my business during this window of time, and nothing will distract me from that. And then outside that time, I can go solve all the other problems. And like, there's plenty of like, okay, somebody needs a plan and they do, like, if they message me at 8 a.m., they're going to wait 4 hours and then I'll get to it. Like, they'll be fine. Because like there's early morning. I tend to get up at 4. So there's like, I'm usually done with my morning stuff by 6. So I got 6 to 8 where I could solve problems. And then I've got 12 to basically 7 p.m., 7:30 p.m. to solve problems. And I've got the weekends. Like people are still going to get a good time. And like my time is protected and I can direct it towards the up and to the right for the long-term future, which is growing the company, not just working. So do not disturb modes. They can be very powerful. And the last thing I want to talk about is that over this last week, I did one of the coolest things that I've done in a long time. And I did it with my brother. It's been super fun. Mr. Will Stevenson is a sales and psychological thinking expert. And he has joined me in the process of figuring out my scripts, helping me with the scripting, the selection, the word use, the phrasing, the type, like the text, the typing, the copy, all that stuff. And we have just been like, we just got this fantastic script going. And he's like working with me on the system and like the training. It's just been really awesome. And we have gotten a really great flow established, at least for myself. I didn't have a great flow beforehand. Now we have our ClickUp software set up. We got checklists, we got colors, everything's super organized. It's super easy now to do the right move, which is open up the list, find the thing. Okay, here's the people on the certain days, do the days, go to non-contacted. Like it's all super easy now. And so the growth is more approachable because we made it easier and we made it more effective. So really good news there. I appreciate all the wonderful work my brother is doing with me. Shout out to Mr. Will. So there's that. We got a chat here from Mr. Eugene. Sam, do you provide engineer seal on your plans or just design what customers should pass to engineer? Do you need license architecture seal on the plans in your state? That's a great question, Eugene. So let me speak to that. I do not engineer anything. Could I? With my brain, yes. Licensing, no. I am currently in engineer in training. I believe I retain that indefinitely. I don't you're not supposed to engineer or do anything with that like license. It's not an official license. I am not a professional engineer. I do not have the certification. I do not have the stamp. I do not carry insurance. And like, I don't even carry liability insurance on my plans because I'm like, if I fuck something up, I want to pay for it. Like insurance is a scam. Don't get me started on that. But the engineering, no, like I understand it clearly. I mean, Mr. Eugene joins me on the Frame It Fridays frequently, and he's learning lots of great stuff. And I go heavily into the math because I'm an engineer, like at the core. I started as an engineer. But here's what happened, Eugene. I learned that the engineering, okay, so I was working as a structural engineer getting paid basically $40 an hour to do my job, 40-hour weeks, super white collar engineering job. And I started drawing plans. And when I started drawing plans, like a few things happened. One, I didn't really have all the real business expenses that I should have. And two, like I happened to meet like the perfect customer a few times. And that was just my interpretation of how business goes. And so basically, I had super low expenses and I had customers that were in a ton of pain that were willing to pay a large number of money. And so what happened was I drew a few houses for a few people that gave me a lot of money. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't need a license to do this. I just need the software. I need to be good at it and I need to be fast. Why am I engineering? Like, I don't love engineering for the sake of it. Like, we're just drawing plans on somebody else's house and like everybody else's. At the same time, as an engineer, I was seeing like I would see 400 different architectural plans in a year, at least. And it's like I'd see tons of them that sucked. Be like, bro, like your lines are all over the place. You can't even read this. You misaligned your walls on the second floor to the first floor. Like, this is all wrong. Like, so there's room in this industry for people to do this correctly. Oh my word. So, with all those things combined and my emotional state being as volatile as it was, I decided to start my own company, left the engineering firm very abruptly, was actually fired, deserved that one. It's in the description if you want the whole story. But that all happened. And so, no, I don't engineer. I also signed a do not compete when I signed up to work there because this boss man knew what he was doing. He knew I was good. And so he made me sign I will not compete within. Here's a funny story. The first time I signed the employment contract, it was a do not compete within 50 miles radius. And then we did a few things back and forth. I was a W-9 and then went back to being an employee. When I signed it again, it was a 300-mile radius. So he's like, oh, this man, he knows what he's doing. He's got an edge. I got to watch out for this kid. So I technically have a 3-year non-compete within a 300-mile radius. But like, I'm not interested in providing engineering services. One, because I'd have to go work for another engineer making less money for another 2 years. And then I'd have to like take a test and just do a bunch of dumb stuff. And here's the other thing. The world of engineering is filled with non-value added work. I'm sorry, but like, as an engineer, you deal a lot with jurisdictional authority. You deal with cities, counties, you deal with like water purveyors, utility purveyors, like water quality commissions, like all this bullshit paperwork that I am just not interested in doing any of that. So no thanks. I'm going to do this thing that is I get paid a lot of money to solve a problem really fast for somebody that's really important. It's like, this is a very direct, like valuable thing. I'm giving you a document that you could not build the house with otherwise. And it's going to be a great one. So no, I do not engineer. I do not put engineering in my plans. Now, here's like the gray area for this one particular guy. And I am not going to do this as like a business thing. Like, I'm not touching takeoffs. I'm not touching framing quantities. I'm not touching framing design. Could I? Yes. Because especially where I'm building in Texas, Central Texas area, they call it the Wild West. And mostly it's because you get a bunch of illegal people framing for super cheap, and they will just follow whatever plan they see, or they'll hip shoot it and they'll make it up on the spot. And there's also no like city, county like requirements for framing plans. Like, you don't need an engineering stamp on a framing plan. Most architectural designs don't have a framing plan. They just give it to the framer and they're like, hey, figure it out. And like, there's a lot of crazy custom homes around here. So it's basically a bunch of people hip shooting and being like, I don't know, maybe let's make it this big. How big does a beam need to be? Let's make it this big. I don't know. So that's what happens where I'm at here. So there is a market for me to say, hey, I'm going to give you a framing plan for a good price. I'm going to do it really fast because, like, bro, I could make framing plans like crazy at the engineering firm, and I still do it on the stream. But there's a market for it. I don't want to dabble in the market because, one, it's too close to competing with the non-compete that I signed. Not that I don't think it would ever matter. And two, because it's a whole other world of problems that I don't want to get into. I want to do focus. I want to provide a very specific product for a very specific kind of builder, and I'm going to let the industry do whatever else it's doing. I'm not interested in disturbing that. So, yes, the one exception that I made recently was the builder that I'm building these two houses with. I was trying to network my way into this industry, and so I was like, hey, bro, let me draw you plans. And he was like, wait, does it like, he's a speculative builder developer guy. So what he needed was a framing takeoff, and he didn't have a good place to get it. If you're a really big builder, you've already got lumber suppliers, and the lumber suppliers generally have people that are like, yeah, we'll do your takeoff for you. Like, we got you. But he didn't have those connections, and he didn't really know how to do it on his own. So I got like a super niche area, and I was like, yes, I'll do it for you. I will solve your problem. And also, like, eventually I was able to like get in and like build these things with him. So I'm very connected to this one project. I am not doing that again because I don't want to be in that. I don't want to be in that industry. So I'm not an estimator. I'm a draftsman. Did that answer all the questions? That's the long answer. In case you wanted the long answer, do you need a licensed architectural seal on the plans in your state? No, you do not need an architectural seal for like as a registered architect in the state of Texas for sure. Inside city limits of Austin, yes, for most projects. And like it changes based on the size. So like in some places it's like, well, technically I'm not allowed to draw over like 5,000 square feet or whatever, but it's like, okay, so if I draw a 5,001 square foot house, it's going to be bad because I'm a draftsman? Like, no. So I just disregard most of those rules because like, what are they going to do? Smack me on the hand? If I wanted to draw inside city limits of Austin, I could actually go to the American Institute of Design, people, architects, whatever, and get a like designer certification that's like, oh, well, this guy's kind of competent. And then I could put that on my plans, and then the city will accept my architectural plans and they will have to send them to an engineer. But yeah, I just do the architecturals. If they need engineering, they're sending it to an engineer. In San Antonio, you need foundation, wind bracing, and framing inside city limits. That's all done engineering. You can't get that. Well, okay. I'm not going to go super into detail, but technically the designer can do framing and wind bracing if it's to code. If it's a super simple house and there are 0 beams to calculate, yes, it can be to code because you can just reference the tables. Or you can reference like beam manufacturers tables. You don't have to do math. That's pretty much the difference. What was the last question? Yeah, so I don't need a licensed architectural stamp. There's like one city, it's Austin, where I might need that if I wanted to work there. But also like, I'm generally finding the kinds of people who want architects are not the kinds of people that I want to draw for. Like, there's nothing wrong with those people, but like, there's just a very different. I am not an artist. I am good at putting lines on paper very fast, and I understand the structure that I'm drawing. That's it. And so I'm actually going to be scaling. Like, I'm specifically looking for builders that are like, oh, the builder is acting as the designer. The builder knows style. The builder wants to build a certain way. So the client's going to meet with the customer, is going to meet with the builder. They're going to talk ideas. The builder's going to be like, okay, this works. This works. He's going to take a bunch of notes. And he's like, all right, now I need this on paper. That's what I'm for. He passes all that on to me, and I'm like, oh, cool, I get it. Oh, or I need more information here, or what's this? And then blah, 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 boom, here's your plans. Less than 24 hours. Like, that's what I do. And that makes him look really good. He gets his problem solved really fast. He can send that back. And then the builder is filtering out all of the bullshit that comes along with customers. Like, not their own fault. They don't know how houses are built, or they don't know what they want, or they don't know whatever. Like, the builder's going to guide them. I don't really want to do that. So, because like I make more money if I just focus on the thing that I'm good at. Believe it or not. Oh, so that was the answer. Hopefully that was a helpful answer. That's right. Shout out to Mr. Will Stevenson for helping me with the sales process. Appreciate that. He also helps me frequently with my tonality and saying things clearly, ending sentences definitively, and not talking like this. So shout out to you, Will. Hopefully I've done okay on the stream so far. Righty, folk. Just one. There's just one folk. All right. So next week, what do we got coming on? I'm going to work on this. I've got the timer. I've got the focus box. I've got the office set up. I've got everything so that I just there's no reason for me to fail here. I've got a great system. I'm going to aim for 4 hours, minimum 4-hour input from my timer on sales. I also don't have a ton of drawing to do this week. So if that comes in a bunch, I will be under more pressure, but I will still try to do what I said I'm going to do. But 4 hours, 4 hours of like actual focused, I am doing the tasks time, selling and converting my list of non-contacted people into at least warm leads that want my work. That's that job. The product of that work is I got a list of people that like me, that want to use me. That's my product. And then I just got to wait for the economy to get better, and then everyone's going to like want plans, and then things go crazy. That's the idea. So I'll do that in the off time from 8 to 12. Well, let's be real. I'm probably not going to have 4 hours of straight focus time, 8 to 12. So it's going to bleed over. But in the off time, like in the morning or the evening, and then the weekends, I'll be doing the drawing and creating the models for all the people that I'm offering free models to. So I will be doing that. And that's what I'm doing. I'm still in the state of Texas. I have not expanded outside Texas because I haven't got through my list of 1,000. If I keep up this flow, I think it's going to be 2 to 3 weeks before I'm through all of the leads in Texas, at which point I will need to probably get a VA to start scraping data for like, maybe I might go to New Mexico and maybe Oklahoma. And I'm probably like, I'm disinclined to go over to Louisiana because like, as soon as you go over there, like they build very differently. I'm more inclined to go west. They do a lot of piles, like it's a swamp. It's all swamp over there. So the plans are going to look different. The styles are going to be different. It's not all slab foundations. I'm used to drawing a product that's like, hey, single story slab, we're putting it on the dirt. This is how we build. Like west and north are going to be like mostly how we do that. You go too far north, you're going to start getting into pier and beam foundations, which are similar, but like everything's a little different. So we're going to learn as we go. I will share everything I learn as we go and as we grow. And we're just going to keep up with what we can. And yeah, we got the Tuesday hangout, 7:30 p.m. Central Time. And that's where we hop on the StreamYard and just shoot shit, talk about our weeks, talk about stories, get to know each other kind of thing. And then Frame It Fridays, of course, every Friday at 7:30 p.m. Central, I hop on the stream and I pick one of the designs that I've done recently and I talk about how it would be framed. And you can learn about framing. That makes you a better designer, makes people more capable, makes builders better builders, just makes everyone better. So hopefully this has been a valuable stream and you guys have learned something. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for chatting. Thank you for supporting. Shout out to all you guys in the replay gang that are watching this after I've already streamed it. And yeah, that's what I got for this week, folks. So I'm going to take it out with some music by the one and only Observer That Is Green. Here we go, folks.
That's the code.